Today's Scholarly Snippets session is on Sciwheel. I welcome any questions that you might have, and I will do the best that I can to answer them. So this workshop is part of a series that's designed to help advance individuals' research skills and support their scholarly activities. For this session in particular, the focus is on managing a personal library of articles and references in Sciwheel, importing references from literature databases using a browser extension, as well as creating citations for Word manuscripts and PowerPoint or poster presentations. So I just had a couple little quick questions of whether or not anybody uses a reference manager already, or what are some features that you think would be most helpful? What do you look for? Organization, yes, wanting to be able to organize our content. I don't know, some people find it helpful to be able to annotate. I think the biggest thing we're all looking for is that ease in you as well for organization, that ease in being able to put references into a document if needed. So there are two main options with Sciwheel. You can have anybody can create a free account. Anybody can also have a premium account, or their institution can license it. There's a lot that's in common between the two. Everybody gets the online reference manager with unlimited references, the ability to save and annotate those references, as well as the ability to cite references in Word and Google Docs. Where some of the differences are is that with the free account, you can only invite up to 3 co-authors. Whereas if you have a paid license, you can invite as many collaborators as you want. There might actually be a limit, but they haven't specified that. With the paid account, you also have unlimited storage and an unlimited number of projects. We're going to cover what that terminology means here in a minute. Whereas with the free account, you're limited to up to 3 projects. And there's a couple other differences as well. So this is just kind of a basic overview of the Sciwheel workspace. I'm going to go into it and do a live demonstration here in a minute, but this gets you basic orientation first. So on the dashboard page, it gives you an overview of the activity in your 4 most recent projects, trending articles in your area, as well as suggested articles. For those last 2 things, it also gives you the option under each to add it to one of your projects or to dismiss the notification. The main space for Sciwheel that you're going to probably be getting into would be the reference page. And so that automatically defaults to all references, everything that's in here. And at the moment, I have almost 4,300 references in here. And some of that's from working on a scoping review. Then there are the private projects. And this is that terminology that I said that I would explain. So the private projects, think of projects as like folders when we're in Windows Explorer or in a Mac, and how you organize them. So that's how I think of the projects as a folder. You can only do one sublevel though. So the private ones, things you haven't shared or invited any collaborators with. Shared projects are those for whom you have invited others to collaborate. And that's where you can access those. And when you click on the plus, it will expand it out. So now I'm going to transition to doing a live demonstration so that I can showcase how to import references from literature databases using browser extensions, as well as how to create citations for Word manuscripts and PowerPoint and/or poster presentations. Are there any questions at this time? So here is my main page for all of my references. Like I said, it defaults to all of that, every single one that you have. And then over on the left, you can expand your private projects or your public projects to be your shared ones rather, to be able to see the references that are in there. And you can also search for it. Probably a lot of what's going to happen is you're going to be searching in PubMed or another database. I'm going to open things up here. Does anybody want to suggest a topic that I search in PubMed for? Diabetes. All right, let's do that then. Sorry, I have like 2 screens, so trying to make this work here. So this one, if I like it, I can see that because we have libkey nomad that we have the whole PDF. So most of the time when you have the PDF, Sciwheel is able to import it exactly as is. So up here on my browser, I have the Sciwheel browser extension, and it's supported in all of the major browsers. So if I click on that, I can tell this, oh, okay, which project do you want me to put this into? It can do unsorted, which means it's not going to go into any project folder. I have one that I call a test project for just this purpose. And then I'm going to click add. Okay, it's taking a moment. This is the point where it would tell me if it wasn't able to upload it, but it did successfully upload it. And I can tell because Sciwheel is up here in the bar. There's also some other options about adding annotations, going to see it in my library. So the nice thing about the annotations that you add, I can click on that button, I can make it the colors and add a note. And if you've invited collaborators to your projects, they'll be able to see any of your annotations on the document. Any questions about that part, about using the browser extension to save an article to Sciwheel, your reference as the reference manager? Okay. So then the other part, if you did have to upload it, yes, I do love it too. It makes things a lot easier and faster. You can click here to import references. So you can upload a PDF. There's files from Medline, other things. The DOI is really handy. So where to get the browser extension? That's a great question, Jean. So I'll go to the help website, or maybe Kyle can put the link in the chat for you so that you can see where to get that. Thank you for asking. So yes, adding it by DOI, PMID. You can also create a reference manually, which is sometimes helpful for like books or other things like that. So if you need to. So that's the part about how to import references from literature databases using browser extensions. The next part about the presentation today is how to create citations for Word manuscripts or PowerPoint. So as of August, Sciwheel doesn't support a desktop app anymore for Microsoft Word. It only supports it in Office 365. And there's my Sciwheel tab here. I wanted to make sure I'm logged in, which I think that I am. But basically, I could start typing that load create. I can type. So I can insert citations and just search for the article that I know it is there. I can go to Smart Citations, which is where it's trying to guess based on the keywords that I used what my source is. So I could tell it to get Smart Citations. This is only a feature in the premium or licensed version for the Smart Citations. So if this is it, I can click Cite. If it's like more than one resource, you can still do that. So I'll just pick another one and say Cite, or is that the one? That's the one I already picked. Okay, there we go. And now it has put those in there. You can also, of course, search PubMed. Ideally, though, we're all starting with, we've already looked at the literature before we start writing. So then I can talk here. I just wanted to show you that it will then, especially with AMA, where you have the numbers, I go back and highlight and format this, I can change it from Vancouver to the American Medical Association, if that's what it is. And then it will just update all my numbers and go from there. You can see, though, that there are a couple of mistakes here in capitalization. This is something that when you import, you would check there, or you can fix a reference. Pick on this one here. I can edit it. So if I want to change this capitalization, because in AMA, a lot of things are sentence casing, I can edit it to fix that. Otherwise, you have to edit each reference. Are there any questions about how to create citations inside Microsoft Office? I should say Microsoft Word. Okay. So then the other aspect of this, as I mentioned, was trying to put citations into a presentation. So I'll show you an example of mine where I've done that, and then I'll show you how to do that. So in one of the materials, some of the materials that I prepared, I cited 2 books and I have my numbers. And then instead of creating these by hand, I went and put the information into Sciwheel and then took the citations from there. So I'm going to pick a different one, not this website. You go into the view for the individual article, and you'd be able to see here too, over on the right, you can add the PDF, which I find is handy if I have it. Any tags that you've added, if it's part of a project or any members. If I had highlighted and made any annotations, it would be here in the notes field. But in terms of getting that citation, I click on those little dots up here, and then I click on citation. And then you pick the style that you want. So it remembers that I tend to default to AMA. So I'm going to click on copy the citation, and then I would go over to the PowerPoint and I would paste it in. And from here, you can make any other changes that you need. So it's pretty easy, which I like. So they have talked about adding an add-in for PowerPoint, but it's not there yet. So for right now, we have to do it manually, whereas in Office 365, it's a little bit more seamless. That's pretty much everything that I wanted to show you today. This is just a very basic introduction to Sciwheel, but I welcome any questions that you have, or if there's anything in particular you're curious about with it. If you don't have any questions, I can go ahead and let you go. This is just meant to be that brief snippet, as we talked about, an introduction to using Sciwheel and how it's helpful as a reference manager. And let me go open up the PowerPoint again. So the last thing is just credit for the slides presentation. How about sharing the list with colleagues? How will it be done? Okay, so let me go and back exit out of this. So if I had a project, let me go down to the test project as an example. Over here in the upper right corner, there's the 2 little people icon. If I click on that, that's where I can invite a new member. So these are people that I've invited to a project before, which is why their emails are popping up here. Otherwise, I could put in somebody else's. And then if you want to, you can add a personal message and then you click invite. And then as it says here, an invitation has been sent to that individual. They'll get an email. And if they don't already have a Sciwheel account, that will create them a free account when they do that. Great question. You can also take a project away from sharing. So I could always just click on remove here. If I want to keep this project private, or I just decide not to share it with that individual anymore. You're very welcome. Any other questions? Well, I hope you all have a wonderful day then. Thank you for joining us.